Listening to you guys. I have an American accent because that's where I'm from, and my wife tells me it's very hard to understand me. So I'm going to speak extremely slowly, and if I'm talking too fast, please tell me. When I think of the word entrepreneur, I think winging it. You know, just winging it, not exactly knowing what's going to happen, and being comfortable with that. So, in the spirit of that, and because it was a busy day, I have not prepared anything. So, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to ask some questions as we go along. And if I'm talking and you have a thought and you want to chip in, let's just have a conversation. I was never a student in India, but I've been an entrepreneur here. I was a student in America, and I've never been an entrepreneur in America, so it's been a very interesting experience for me. Just by a show of hands, it's interesting to me to understand just a bit about who's here. So is everyone in the audience a student? If you're a student, can you raise your hand? You're currently a student. Okay. Fair enough. And if you are currently in a startup, if you've started a company already, please raise your hand. Okay, so about half and half. All right. So I'm relatively, this microphone makes me feel like I'm, I don't know, an announcer or something. If I talk like this, can you still hear me or no?
Yeah.
Can I get rid of this? Thank you. But it's very cool, so I might go back to it. Oops, I'm sorry. Hold on. So, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I came to India in 2005. My parents are from Bombay and Ahmedabad, and I moved here when I was 24 for the first time. I came out here because I wanted to be an actor. So when we were living in this small town in by LA, we were the only non-white family, and we would get 5 VHS tapes every week from a place called Nima Sari Palace, which was 3 hours away, and we'd get Bollywood videos. And so I grew up watching them, and all I wanted to do was come to India to act. And I grew up doing theater, doing all of these things, and one day I decided to move out here. And I came here when I was 24, and I had a culture shock, to say the least. And I realized a lot of exciting things about the industry at the time, but a lot of things that I didn't find as exciting. I felt the star system was overpowering, to the fact where we were actually not spending as much time on content and things like that. And I felt that it was a very nepotistic industry, where it was about whose son are you, or do you have money to finance your own film. So I left very disenchanted. And then I came back again a few years later. While I had grown up acting, I had also grown up doing some business stuff. So I was a management consultant as well. I came back in 2007, and I ended up working on the business side of things. I started as a consultant, and then I met a filmmaker named Shekhar Kapoor, who I'm sure you've all heard of. I ended up becoming Shekhar's business manager. And it was a stroke of luck that happened, and I think a lot of life is that. You work hard and you create your luck, or you happen to be in the right place at the right time. So I ended up meeting Shekhar, and through that I realized something very interesting, which was, why is there only one Shekhar coming out of India? We have a country of 1 billion people, and why are there not more Shekhar Kapoors? Now you might think Shekhar's a brilliant filmmaker, you might not think he's a great filmmaker. But what he's achieved, I think, is something tremendous. And I also don't necessarily think that the goal has to be to go be an international filmmaker. We have almost 20% of the world's population. You know, we're one of the most self-sufficient entertainment industries in the world, where, you know, Hollywood always tries to have their movies dominate the box offices globally. India is the one country where they haven't been able to do that, where Hollywood is something like 10 or 15% of our box office. But I always thought the opportunity should exist. The opportunity should exist that if a filmmaker wants to go international, they should be able to. But again, it started hitting on the same chords for me, that filmmaking, in the filmmaking process, in the television process here, I just felt that writers, directors, content creators, storytellers were just undervalued. So that led to me thinking, you know what, acting's interesting, but I felt that there was, in a country where I felt, and I'm going to sort of step back for a moment, why do I have this American accent? I have this American accent because my dad didn't feel there was enough opportunity here, so he left. And like millions of Indians, there are, as she rightly said, there are so many executives around the world that are Indian. There's so much brain drain that this country experiences because people just get frustrated, they leave. They hate the educational system, right? And so for me, I felt, okay, well, you know, I've had a great experience as an Indian American, and my parents are from India, so is there anything I can do to contribute in whatever little way I can? And I feel that so much about how we learn is through stories. Whether it's what we watch in a movie, whether it's what we watch on the news, what we read in a newspaper. So I felt that by coming to India and maybe influencing the process of storytelling and content creation in a way, maybe I could contribute in a way to this country. And obviously it's exciting. It's not just about contributing to society. It's also very exciting to be part of the entertainment business. It's very cool to, you know, be involved with people you've admired growing up as a child and being able to work with them. But from my perspective, starting a business in India has been quite the challenge. Starting a business in India, an entertainment business, has been quite the challenge. Sorry.
Can I add something?
Yes.
We did a survey of 180 countries on the ease of starting business. And India, very proudly, stood 179. So I know it's quite unfortunate, and I know precisely what you mean when you say cultural shock.
Yep.
But I'm sure you're going to see a change in India in the next 5 years.
Yeah, no, and I think we're already seeing it. It is very exciting, and it's exciting to do stuff like this. I think that for me, why I wanted to be a part of this is because I think that it does start with education. I do think it starts with students. Why is entrepreneurship important, right? Everything that we use in life is because of an entrepreneur, right? The iPhone was created by an entrepreneur. The camera is using to record this. You know, the fact that we have shoelaces because someone didn't want slip-on shoes anymore and said, what can we do with shoelaces? Maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it was shoelaces and then slip-ons. I don't know. But entrepreneurship is critical. But I think what's so important about entrepreneurship that I'd like to, at least a few things I'd like to say is that it's not easy, for sure. It's very complicated. It's very challenging. But it's also very rewarding. I think that we have to move to a place where we don't have an insular look. We have to be global entrepreneurs. Even though we represent 20% of the world, I think that, you know, being an Indian and an American, I'm very confused. You know, I hear a lot of shit about America here. In America, I hear a lot of shit about India. So the thing is, our approach has to be very inclusive of everyone. And I think that, you know, I mean, you think about Jaguar Land Rover, it's now owned by the Tattas, right? Similarly, we're going to start seeing way more and more deals. So, you know, I think it's going to be about having that kind of approach. I think that the most important thing, if one is choosing to go be an entrepreneur, there's nothing glamorous about being an entrepreneur. I think the word is more glamorous than the work. And I think you really have to think about what is the need that I'm trying to fill? What's the gap that exists? You shouldn't just say, I want to go be an entrepreneur just to be an entrepreneur, just because you're frustrated with your 9-to-5 job or your 10-to-6 job, whatever it is. I think you have to really think about what does society need, or, you know, and believe me, this country needs a lot of stuff, right? I mean, every country does. So if something's pissing you off, if education is pissing you off, do something about it, right? Be inspired by it and say, okay, I'm going to go, and I think that's what you're getting at with your question. So figure out how do you change it, you know? And
that was the question I was going to ask you.
So tell me, how are you going to change it? What do you think you're going to do?
Maybe I thought about starting a community in the college itself. Like, I'm an alumni, so...
You're a what?
Alumni.
Sure.
So, the pass-outs, all the pass-outs, you think that they can bring about, like, what in the present syllabus or something, what they can add, like, from their side. They conduct maybe seminars or something like that from their side, additionally.
Yep.
If there are complaints, take the complaints from the student side. What we are facing at that present moment for the 4 years. Take that complaints, and because the nobody's there. There's no particular source where all these complaints are gathered, right?
The worst part in engineering, the engineers are desperately needed, mechanical, electrical. However, whether you end up in IIT, whether you end up in an engineering institute, all of them are unfortunately getting jobs in finance or getting jobs in the commercial aspects.
Because some of my friends, they get selected for the top companies, but what do they get? They get sales profile or something like that. The core technical parts they design, they don't get it like that. So like the complaints that are there from the existing colleges, there's no particular a portal where all the complaints are it's sent to a particular person who can change the system. We just can act as a portal as an alumni. So what I was planning, like, to create such kind of a portal where these kind of complaints are sent to the particular person responsible, who can change the system, who is in the system present. So there can be such kind of systems also. So that's what I was thinking.
The sadder part is that even the system will not be changed, but the worst part is the negligible application of the system.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I remember when I was in college, 99% of us lived on campus, and we had this catering company that you guys all have heard of Marriott, right? So Marriott used to cater our college, right? It was this highly expensive foo-foo school, right? In America, we had a maid service every week, which you wouldn't hear of, right? So then one year they got rid of Marriott. They hiked up our tuition and they had some company called Aramark come in. And Aramark sucked. It was like the shittiest cafeteria food ever. And people had like posters on their windows that had a middle finger up and said, "Go Aramark," right? So even the poor people who were coming to work for Aramark were unwelcome there. So I remember we had this thing called a student trustee program, where you take the alumni and you would take the students and you would take administration and you would bring them together in a forum. So I think the first thing, at least, and these guys have probably done this way more than me, but just identify the problem, right? Like when you say you hate your education, the question is...
I don't hate it.
You don't have to backpedal.
It has I don't know, it has turned me like that. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, because environment matters. That's it. In education, environment matters, and maybe the environment is made me like this to say the words. That I don't know. I love education.
Sure.
I love taking in a way, in a proper way. That way hasn't been defined for me for the past couple of years. That's why I'm saying that I hate the current system, because it has made me to speak to you like that I hate it.
No, that's okay. I say I love America and I hate America. I say I love India and I hate India. The reality is that both of those emotions exist and one can't exist without the other, right? So it is dual, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Now is the time to decide what can I because having that qualification and having that experience, see, I cannot say that it's an entirely waste of experience, as ma'am said. So now is the time to decide that what can I do without that qualification. So I will have obviously more maybe rights or something like that after completing my graduation that the students presently studying might not have. So I can contribute in some way possible. So that's what I'm thinking right now.
Good. I think you should consider putting something together. Talk to your administration at your school, talk to your fellow alumni, talk to some of the students, and get the feedback. I bet you that your administration probably wants it to be better, but they don't know how, right? They probably don't have the bandwidth or the time or the pay, because teachers aren't really paid well here. It's not a sought-after job. If you take the lead, I'm sure people will be open to it.
Sorry.
Please. Please, yeah. Please, yeah.